And we're back. Welcome once again to the Minecraft world that will ultimately probably end at some point, but hopefully will never end in our immediate future. So here we go, back at it. We haven't been away too long. Same real world day for me. Just a few minutes later, there is a very sad development I need to let you all know about, though, as we pull back up the world. Um, I know a lot of you were hoping that I would use that opportunity to make some coffee and restore. Well, unfortunately, it seems that they're working on the building. I do live in a apartment complex and have a number of units in my building. Well, it seems like they're working on one of the other ones and temporarily have the water shut off. And in a rare Murphy's Law kind of situation, I didn't even have any spare water in the kettle that I use for brewing coffee and or tea. I guess I'm much more a fan of coffee than warm tea, but we'll drink it on occasion. If it had been a pinch and I'd been out of coffee, I certainly wouldn't have turned my nose up at it. But yeah, without water, I didn't get to make any breakfast that I'd been looking forward to. Now I thought we had just slept. Isn't it morning? Are we losing it? Minecraft, are you just teasing me here? I guess we're gonna sleep one more time before we head out on the great adventure. Oh yeah, we went around and chased sheep. We have a ton of wool. Now, we want our flowers for a lot of stuff, but I want to make a couple different colored beds just for, having too many white beds, and it'll seem like we're I don't even know that hospitals anymore have white beds, but that kind of used to be the deal. Institutional type white for stuff. This will get us one bed to carry, one bed to leave, which again will make our need for an upper story all the more apparent since we're tripping over the darn bed here. But yeah, we've got one in reserve. I'll maybe add that to our little donkey's travel pack, and I'll still carry the one in my hand. But as you guys may have guessed by the watermelon example in the last episode, it's easy to overlook things like that, particularly for me. I don't know if that's saying anything, but far too far too easy to find that you've walked for a day and left your bed behind at the last stop, and it's getting dark and run into a little bit of an issue. So we'll have a backup. Nothing wrong with a backup. It's you guys aren't messing with my friend, are you? I hope not. Ooh, he's got an enchanted bow. Let's use some of these trees. See if we can. Nope, couldn't keep him alive long enough. Did he drop it? There's a bad chance. We got a couple of zombie fleshes, but nothing from the skelly. That is a shame. Well, no problem. It's just, again, the endless potential to get stuck and sidetracked. Donkey ready? Let's go. See the world. Smell the air. Doesn't it feel good to just be out exploring? I hope we don't get stuck. Are we going to get stuck? Yeah. Of all the things, Donkey, we made a tree barrier. Keep us from getting to our desired adventures. So that's a reminder, no matter how far we end up touring, when we come back, it's probably best to swing around the fields that way instead of picking our way through the trees. So yeah, for those who may have just jumped in later or not remembered, so many donkeys. And the good news is there's some horses, so eventually um, we can add them to our riding stock as well. But I'm happy with you, Donkey. You're doing such a great job. So this is kind of the way we came in. I don't remember if we popped there or came up over this hill, although the horses reminded me that we'd been through. So within easy riding range, we've got a traditional forest of birch and oak. We've got more spruce, and we don't even totally need a bridge. I don't know. This is the trick with some of the animals, and it's what makes that little bridge trick that I mentioned work, is they are technically only one wide animals, but they kind of sit between any two existing blocks. And by doing that, they kind of get stuck. If there's only a one block wide gap, they don't know that they can fit through it. They're not coded to go right through, and so they'll kind of get hung up along the way. And that can be challenging. It's just, I know this is going kind of heading back in our own direction, but give us the scenic view if we're close enough. Look at that. We're making our mark on the world. Got our nice fields in the distance. Our house is mercifully hidden by the fog, but it's out there, and someday it will be big and bright enough that we can see, or we can go up on that mountain and have a nice little, maybe we'll make a gazebo that we can go up to and sit in. So riding has a number of advantages that we've already kind of teased upon. Certainly we have the chest now, so we've got a few supplies already loaded onto our donkey that we don't have to carry in our own pockets. That's great. We also move a little faster, and that's nice. And we have the ability a little bit to jump, although I don't. I was just gonna say I don't know that the donkeys can even do it, but yeah, that's jumping is that blue bar, and when you release, they'll kind of hop up, so you can climb a little bit more than you may normally be able to. So we've got more of this frozen ocean on the opposite bank. This is our spruce forest that we've been trimming in when that witch chased us into it. We've got a little river that actually cuts all the way around, I believe, because we had to bounce across it a little bit. Oh, there's a dry patch. A lot of these river biomes will intermittently be dry, and you struggle a little bit more. I don't know that we had gotten berries here. We'll set up a few just to grow. Again, we don't need. They're not a good food just in and of themselves. I mean, they're berries. Berries are tasty. It would be cool if, and I'm sure mods have done this. There's plenty out there that probably have all kinds of intricate cooking systems and things like that. But we got a pumpkin pie. Mojang. Let's get a berry pie of some kind too. Add to it, or some kind of jelly maybe to put on our bread, a jam, something like that you could do with berries. I don't know. It's just, while they're handy for foxes, and we want to be able to eventually breed them, we don't don't need them for a whole lot more than that. And we certainly don't need loads of foxes. They aren't a real viable food crop, or something hey, come on down. We've meet all your fox needs here at Habbage's Fox Emporium. Nah, nothing like that. We're not in the real fur business either. We'll leave that in the past and let these animals grow. And oh, look at that, a village. Good, good, good. So we've also got a flower forest biome here, and this is going to be very handy. As I mentioned, we want a bunch of flowers, and a part of that is going to be um, attracting certain little insect friends that live in homes just like that. Although that one, it may be because we've just loaded it, that he hasn't emerged. It may be that it's vacant. When you find natural bee houses out in the world, they can be empty. Each bee house can accommodate up to 3 bees, so they could be full capacity, or they could just have one or two mixed in. Slowly, those bees will go out and visit area flowers, and as they look at that, they got everything. They got a cool abandoned portal right there. They got flowers and animals, and hopefully some fields. Really, our highest hope for this entire village is that they might be big fans of the beet. That would be ideal. They got a little bit of sugar. We're just kind of doing a tour first. Well, obviously, we're gonna get to know our friends here. Um, Unfortunately, unless the little river in the opposite direction goes back out around uh, our spruce forest peninsula, these may not be the most convenient guys to use for trading, but that's all part of the exploring. So I think what we're going to do is, for the first time, throw down a little temporary camp. So we want our fence, and this is easy enough. We're just going to attach our lead to our donkey, tie him to the post. Now he can wander around. He can talk to that cow. He's gonna have a lot of fun. What he's not going to be able to do is just take off. And by holding shift, if the cow wasn't so rude, we could access his chest without having to ride him. So I'm going to put away the extra stuff there. I'm not going to gather, even if I see any more, I'm not going to get any more berries. And we'll put the spare bed away because it's, we only need one. And we had talked about loading the torches. So already we've cleared up quite a bit of stuff. Now, if we really wanted to, donkey could be our we could put a bunch of these in. We could gather up more stuff, but frankly, I'd rather put the one-offs of things that we gather in and keep these on hand ready to go. So we'll probably have a nap before we really get to work here, but I'd like to get rid of our egg. Let's see. Oh, no baby chicken for you. Sorry, buddy. Next time, maybe. Eggs is I guess I haven't done in either of these worlds yet, really, because we haven't actually started on chickens. But eggs have a chance, if you throw them either into the ground or against something, of breaking and revealing a chicken. A very rare chance of breaking and revealing 4 chickens that will all pop out and go running around. So chickens will increase their stock in that way. Now we're gonna certainly add to our hay supply. These guys don't look like they just have loads of hay, but they're not going to use this. We'll take it, and we'll come back to gather flowers as well from their ready supply. Oof, a little bit further than I'd planned to jump, but this building worked out well. Now the challenge here is going to be, I would thought that chest might be built into the village when multiple features appear appear in the game within proximity to each other, they can. Oh, we got a silk touch shovel. Now that has. Hang on one second. Let's get our golden helmet is going to have very poor durability. It won't last long, so I think I'm going to pocket it as well. But for our initial runs into the Nether, that's going to be a great item. Having the ability to wear gold is very good. Protection 4 is the highest level enchantment for protection. Um, so you have your base protection, which just kind of applies a common mitigation against all damage types. Look at that extra gold. We're doing really well here. If you thought we had too much dirt and dealing with that was a problem, wait until we start with netherrack. So yeah, he got a lava cube in there. That will actually come in handy for elevator building. So yeah, you guys have really been most gracious in welcoming me to your village. What you don't have yet is much in the way of village stuff. The hay bales were nice, but awesome win. As far as random enchantments can go, getting silk touch while an axe would have been better. I'm not gonna lie and pretend like it wouldn't. Silk touch axe would allow us to transport those little bee houses we just saw and potentially bring some bees back right into the area of our fields. I think I'm going to leave the bread now. We've got bread, we've got endless wheat, even the potatoes. Yeah, we'll probably get a bunch of apples when we harvest the trees we planted, since those were all oaks. And everybody knows that oak trees and apple trees are just the same thing in the real world. So yeah, we don't need to, maybe they're storing those up for winter. We don't need to take them anymore. We've got more potatoes now than they'll ever have. So, as I was saying, if Silk Touch had been on my axe, and frankly, it may work with the shovel. In fact, we can maybe for science that over there. But I'd prefer my shovel for gathering up some podzol out of one of the giant taiga biomes, just so that we can have the option to grow a few giant trees of our own. And a little bit, later game design stuff. A shovel is the last thing I tend to enchant, and Silk Touch is more of an afterthought than a real necessity. But having it, that's something we can get. I think popping a few giant trees, spruces in particular, when they're right where you're at, are a really good source. We don't even have to walk across that river, and they actually are much more efficient in a means of getting wood from them than the individual small trees that are scattered around. And that's because you get the cube of 4 and can kind of spiral your way up and back down again. And as I talked about when we'd first gotten started, hey buddy, are you stuck? Can you get back up to defend your neighbors? Or are you just hanging out? So our donkey's back over that way. Let's use him, as I said, to hold some of the one-off things that we're not going to use. Excuse the hiccups. No matter how great we get right in this area while we're still exploring, we're not going to come across gold blocks, and magma and netherrack are not things that we're going to find in the overworld. I'm not going to use the protection 4, no matter how scary things get, and I'm not going to use the Silk Touch golden shovel unless we for science it over on that vacant looking bee house. I don't want to risk one that's dripping honey. We at least know that it already has some bees in it, So we'll leave that, and we'll hang on to apples, hay bales. These we can all drop as needed once we start to fill up. We'll even hang on to these just in case we come across other sources of them. But with most villages, it's been my experience that they're going to develop in proximity to some amount of caves, just to keep the threat to the villagers out there. And there may be some that are uniquely quiet and safe and don't have that. But as sad as it is that I'm not seeing any large fields, these guys aren't the farmers we are. Maybe they knew. They were like, hey, that guy, he's setting up with massive farms. We can't compete with that. Let's leave that to him. We'll try to build a portal. And obviously they failed, but they got close enough to pull back some of the materials from the netherworld. So that's something. Good job, guys. But what we want to do now is take a quick peek down into their cave and see if we can add to the iron. That's our... it's a big cave. Every village has a big cave. It's they need to be threatened by zombies to have that golem show up. So obviously they've got a big cave. Not true. Well, we got some coal. There's worse things. Look at all these golems, though. You guys are definitely looking out for the peeps. There's some iron, though. Hey, cat. You saw on the little notepad that I shared on the first episode, you saw that cats are listed out by type, and there is a advancement for breeding of cats, and that's one that we eventually will get. When you approach a cat, they will typically get scared and run away. By approaching them slowly and offering fish to them, eventually they will overcome their shyness and come up to you, and when they do, you can give them a treat of fish. And if they like that fish, much like with wolves, they will eventually become a tamed version of themselves and follow you around just like a pet dog would. So that's nice. Again, I prefer that some of these little outcroppings be iron to coal. We've got a lot of coal, but I'm not going to turn my nose up at it either. We will eventually want to be doing a lot of cooking, whether that's glass or sandstone or sand into glass, sandstone, or just stone to cobblestone to make this real stone, which we can then make into more building ready supplies. That'll come, and having coal blocks, as I've already mentioned, is my preferred way to fuel the furnaces. You can automate bamboo harvesting and dump that in as a fuel. Kelp is another one I think that can be used to that extent. We could start just taking random cows now that we've got a very healthy supply back home. But because we have a healthy supply back home, I don't really feel the need for toting around the beef and leather. It's just going to take up spots in our inventory. Now, I was hoping to find a mountainy type cave that we could just dig into right around this village while our donkey is tied up. We're still in sight. We're not too terribly lost yet. Oh, there's one. Maybe. Before I speak. Dang it. What is the deal, guys? I guess all the caves were right around my house. I just like to find something that's out in our not too distant vicinity. We know where the village is. We know our house is out beyond it in that direction. We're not impossibly far away, and it would be real good to take on that skeleton. Hey, where'd you come from? I was worried about your buddy. Can you guys fight each other, maybe? Nope. Nope. And they don't tend to do real well with strafing, so when they're on fire like that, you can just kind of cruise, let them cook like that. And we got some arrows out of it. Now, the reason I wasn't a little more aggressive with the skeleton was I didn't have my shield up yet, and figured that I would just at least carry that with me as we go. Oh, and then I don't get it up in time. You gotta hold the shield in order to get any effect out of it. Basic shield. Tell me that arrow wasn't in his forehead. Alright, so we found a cave. We just now need to remember which way the town was to get back to our donkey friend. Are you kidding me? What does it take to find a real cave in this area? Yeah, clearly that has some connections, but if we were closer to home, dealing with a cave that, was connected into our own minds, I might be more inclined to probe and see if I could locate it. But no, looks like we did without much effort. When you're out doing these kind of adventures, you don't need to be 100% thorough, because you're changing speed for hitting every single little block. Ooh. That should have taken care of both of them. Nope. How did you... Really? Okay. Well, that was ungraceful. Not a real good space there to take on creepers. With the angle and the levels, it made it a bit more difficult to either get out of their immediate sight line or knock them back out of range. But the good news is we've now got enough armor that we can kind of just endure those, and with our stake, it's not too difficult to... Now your turn. As you can see, their spiders do hit more quickly and they move more quickly over the ground. We talked about that with the difference in the little zombies, baby zombies, as opposed to their adult counterparts. They've still got that youthful zeal, energy. And spiders carry that same speed, but as you saw there, they can get stuck. And boy, oh boy, I'd like your enchanted bow. What else is down there with you, though? Bow, though? Okay, now you're coming. How far will you follow me? No enchanted bow. Dang it. But we are getting more and more cave area here to enjoy with creepers. Ooh, closer to that guy. He took a lick out of some of my iron armor. No real damage done, though. And here comes the horde. Now, anytime that they start coming, watch out because, as I said, they have unheard calls to surrounding zombies, and you may think, oh, I just came from that direction, I'm all good. But you may suddenly find that you're not only getting hit by zombies in front of you, you're also taking damage from behind. So keep an eye out for that. Now, when this guy popped, he pulled down that gravel, and we almost got caught in what I talked about earlier is a fun environmental way to trap your enemies by dropping a bunch of gravel on their head. We were fortunately one step back, but as you can see, I don't particularly mind the creepers popping when I'm in these caves. It's not like they're next door to my house and ready to do a lot of damage I have to replace, and in fact, when they do explode like that, sometimes they can reveal other, if there was a cave just behind that wall and he broke it in, it would become visible to us. So not the worst thing in the world if you can make sure that you're not directly on top of them. That one example was certainly too close for comfort with a zombie, or with a creeper. It took I think 6 of my hearts down. So yeah, they can definitely get you, especially if they're the force of their explosion diminishes the further away you get. And if you can be constantly moving back and forth as you're fighting them, even if they start to sizzle and you can't fully get away, you can make it so it's not that big a deal for your own character when they do go. So we're just going to hang right here and try to actually successfully kill one. Good for us. That was the prime example of why when I go caving, I want to get up to the heights first and then drop back down later. Is all it takes is just one dark area and one creeper, and he doesn't have to worry about whether the steps he's walking on are clean or not. He can just drop right off of them, and unless it's a far enough drop to kill him, he'll happily drop down to reach you and get you. And as you saw, that guy just came right out of the dark, and it was time to gain a little separation and then go back. When you do, easy enough. You just come back up, take him on a little bit of level ground where you can rock her back and forth and get a few hits in. So no longer at the point where we're immediately terrified of the monsters around, but as that first world showed us, they're still dangerous, and if one approaches unseen, gets right next to us, that can be all the oomph they need to take us out in this world. Now that we put some work into it, it would be a shame to have to start back again. Not a reason not to do it, but I'd like to see where we can get with this world. We got a donkey waiting on us, and the thought of him just sitting alone would be too much for us to throw away. So we're just going to keep carefully exploring the not too deep depths of this cave, unless I'm pretty sure I had my shield up for that. I was kind of worried looking off into the darkness behind him there what what more may be coming. Is it this cave heard me talking? I was like, wait, I don't want to be just ruled out as a little surface cave. I want to be a real cave. And this again is one of those waterfalls that ultimately, not only is it holding some mobs like that creeper back, but it could be our access to get down to those places. But it's also kind of in the way. Let's do you ever been to a park or cave or anything where you have the cool little walkways back behind the lip of a waterfall, where the swirling water erodes back a little bit and makes that curtain of water that you can go back and enjoy. Really cool when you see those in nature, and pretty common actually. It's a little bit of a meme for those who played Skyrim, or most any game. Always check behind the waterfalls. That's where the treasure is, right? They game designers will put a cool looking waterfall or feature into a more open world, but not sandbox type game where you're out looking for treasure and exploring, seeing what the world has to offer, and solving puzzles and things. And very often, one of the techniques will be to keep the space behind the waterfall as a good place to put a loot chest or some secret door or something like that in games. And certainly Skyrim was one of those where it was worth checking the ponds and behind the waterfalls to see which ones might have a little bit of treasure. So we've got some junk to keep us, because we're, as in the real world, we're filling up with, or back home, we're filling up with coal before we're filling up with anything else. A lot of this stuff, I don't care to, and if I just throw it that way, I'm going to end up picking it up again. So I'm just going to dig a couple deep enough so that we don't immediately pick it up. It's a little tougher early like this. Oh, go in the hole. To decide what you do and don't want. I don't think I want the zombie flesh. The ink sac, I don't need it yet. We'll eventually have plenty of those. Squids are pretty common to encounter and more of a nuisance than anything, and I think we'll actually toss that. And we don't need gravel. So, we may. Gravel is one of those that later game you'll find, man, how did I pass up on so much gravel now that I'm out and about? You can see by that one, the water caught him a little bit and started pulling him into the distance. Now we're going to effectively make a stair here that will let us bypass the waterfall completely. And maybe just because, we did, let's decide that this waterfall can stay. We're going to want to get back behind it that way, but before we do, I think we've found the redemption of this entire cave system and our mountains that we were laughing at because they didn't have any caves. The villagers just had a little hole. Well, now they seem to have come into their own with a nice big ravine, some lava falls. Yeah, they're making a pitch for being the best cave we've seen so far, and I think they might have it at the moment. This qualifies. So, quick bit about the ravines. They carry the inherent danger of things dropping from above, and I think we've covered in full and great example how much a drop creeper can hurt your game, your ability to survive. Um, this area is kind of the king of them. There's two big dangers you have to watch out for. The one being that a creeper will be standing on one of these ledges above you and drop, and they'll have the added impact of a charged creeper because they're falling, and they won't give you any sizzle warning. They explode on impact when they fall like that. So it's insta death type possibility when you encounter those. The other one is if you're working up high, and I do just like with caves, I prefer to work down into a ravine than up. They, if you have a skeleton on another ledge in the distance, they can shoot you and knock you off the path that you're currently working on. So lots of stuff to look out for. Now, we've used our waterfall to kind of keep our creeper friend at bay, but what I'd like to do now is maybe just enclose the bottom of it so that we still get to enjoy it, and still have the little river above, but we can more easily move this side to the other. And once you know that you're around a ravine, sometimes they'll have elaborate side caves that kind of reconnect to them in multiple points and can bring all that back to a central area, or even multiple ravines that connect to one another. Doesn't look like that's the case here, but getting certainly more iron than we had up until that point, or I guess exactly as much. So 20 pieces is not exactly what I'd hoped for, but we'll take it for now. So our ravine, just to highlight, continues along that way, and a little bit here. I think we're kind of towards the end. It may go deeper, and eventually we'll kind of deal with the lava a bit. For now, it's nice to have the light, but down below where that's flowing, hopefully there's some more iron and stuff. Rather than just diving in that way and going around, what I'm going to do is go back up to where we'd been working here, because now we're going around the bend. And if we go back behind our little secret waterfall passage here, now we should be approaching above the same ravine that we had just been in, and we knew it was rising above our heads. So I think what I'm going to do is kind of probe back in this direction. Ooh, how about that? Endermites. Let's... No, what do we want? Statistics. Statistics. Mobs. Silverfish. I was stuck on endermites and I couldn't think of the name of those little guys. So under mountains, I already talked about we can get emeralds in the lowest levels. They'll appear as a intermediate mob. Just a second here. Little sip of iced tea there. Silverfish can pop out. They will have a spawner at each of the end fortresses that we'll get to in the pursuit of the dragon. But yeah, I had forgotten that. Yeah, they can pop up and be around. Now, miner, they don't do a whole lot of damage by themselves, but they emerge out of individual rocks as you mine them. See how quick that one went? So what they do is, as they get spawned, they'll free other endermites out of the rocks around them. Now we're fortunate to be finding and encountering them right here because we can come back and stand on this diorite and fight from here. And you can see they've done a little bit of damage. More importantly, though, if you are fighting them in just stone, they can burrow underneath you, and you can find that you're trapped in a hole with a bunch of them all coming at you at once, and it's, it kind of just, you can't hit them fast enough and thoroughly enough. They have a small little hitbox, which makes it tough, but you can find yourself overcome, on a smaller scale than zombies, but kind of the same effect if there's just too many of them to slow down, even though you're more than capable of handling any one individually. In numbers, they can do a lot of damage. So we haven't yet found the ravine, but we're definitely grateful for all this iron. And we saw silver, not endermites, silverfish. Endermites are a different little beastie that we'll come to in good time and get to play around with a little bit. But to this point, and I was kind of hoping it would be a little easier to track down the ravine we discovered, the top levels of it. It's sort of cautious work because you don't want to find it opening, 20 plus blocks below your feet as you chop. So I want to just kind of gradually keep probing in that direction, taking the iron when we can get it. Now on the lookout. Oh, I don't know if that will pick up into the video, I kind of doubt it, but I heard that delightful sound of water flowing through pipes. So I think whatever work was being done around my home here is done. As I had just stopped to open and take a sip out of a bottle of iced tea, I usually will make a pitcher of my own. Just kind of keep that in the fridge. I try to avoid all the sodas and that kind of stuff, but iced tea and coffee tend to be my go-to soft drinks without the sugars, and just good old-fashioned water too. But it's nice to have a little bit of caffeine in, and when you are trying to avoid sodas, what you find pretty quickly is that when you're out and about, there's not a ton of other options. That's kind of what you get, and if you're going over to hang out with people, and unless you're planning, I'm certainly well past being 21 and of legal drinking age and all that good stuff. But unless I'm planning to have a beer, a couple, I will often just throw a couple of these little not even a quarter liter. What are these? Just travel size 20-ounce type bottles of unsweetened iced tea to take along with me and have ready to go. And they're kind of nice where they're sealed. You can throw them in a backpack or in a pocket and not be too inconvenienced, and not just be limited to having water or not being set. So yeah, I had one of those remaining in my fridge, and when the water was off, I just grabbed it. I hadn't opened it up until just now, and sure enough, as I did, that was when they apparently have turned the water back on, or are still, once it's gone once, that they're out there doing stuff. So the possibility remains that they may have more work to do. everybody's experience when they do live in apartment complexes is a little bit different. I've really, this is a couple years in to being in my current apartment, and I really found I like it a lot. It wasn't necessarily going to be for any duration when I first found it and moved in, um, but it has access to a great system of trails, and whether it's a bike or on foot, being able to walk out my door and be connected to trails that ultimately could take me, all day long, to in either direction, north or south, into to different metropolitan areas. Even it's pretty nice, and offers me, as I said earlier this morning, most mornings I like to get up and take a quick walk, and that's usually just right around my own area, but love to get out and enjoy it, and that's been a great piece of the location. The other part of what I've found and really been pleasantly surprised by is the people that manage the property. When I was just moving, it actually got bought, and there caused some confusion, in the process of applying. And I was kind of sitting there waiting, going like, oh, man, I wouldn't imagine that there would be any problem with me getting in this apartment, but why haven't I heard back? And finally, one lady said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm new. We just were acquired by a new property management company, whatever bought the actual buildings from an old owner, and they had been turning over all the leasing stuff and the properties, and said, oh, we want to make sure that it, before you move in, the apartment you're going into measures up to our standards and all that kind of stuff." So really cool. But when they do maintenance work, they're very good. If anything is going on that's going to be impactful, particularly that may be of longer duration, they'll go around and call to all of the people that would be impacted by it, or give you flyers, if they're going to do work in the parking lot or something like that. Hey, this is what's going to be going on. These are the dates. If we want you to avoid parking in a particular area, or if it's just even going to be, hey, there's going to be a lot of work going on, you may not want to leave your car parked there if you're going to be there during the day. It will potentially get dusty, that kind of stuff. They'll give you that heads up, which is very nice. A lot of places, don't have to do that, and having someone that's willing to proactively do it, not even make you call and ask, hey, what's going on, is really pretty cool. And I would definitely recommend that if you're at that point in your life when you're out, looking for various places. Price is obviously a huge consideration, as is location. You gotta live in a place that works for you, and that you can afford. But once you narrow down that option list, as many of us have done, you're gonna have a couple candidates. And I think one of the things that after this experience I'll certainly pay more attention to than I had in the past is, what's the responsiveness of the staff? How do they handle these things? And they've done a lot of really cool stuff that a property manager for an apartment complex building, group of buildings isn't necessarily required to. I know when the lockdown first started, they pretty quickly after, because obviously food trucks were suffering, that there weren't and I do live in Colorado. I talked about that some in the past, but out here we have lots of or at least we did. I don't know how many will survive the past year and what's to come, but we had a lot of breweries. It seemed like for a time, uh, while Colorado's always been at the forefront of the microbrew revolution of beers, we really felt that boom that I think a lot of the country did in the last decade, 15 years, where some of the microbrew names became known nationally, and some of the bigger brewers actually operate those and cash in a little bit on that spirit. But um, everybody that had brewed beer at home all of a sudden decided, oh, I'm going to get a brewery too. And so here, while I think as in much of the country, a lot of traditional restaurants have gone the way of, they get bought out by chains, and even the ones that may be locally owned and operated get associated to a particular menu, a particular type, and even the abundance of that fast casual group that just kind of spreads and takes over everything and kind of limits the mom and pop type stuff that we all used to know is certainly alive and well out here. And what that meant was that a lot of those former restaurateurs and went into the food truck mode. I'm not telling anybody any big secrets, right? There's food trucks everywhere. Well, here, at least, the most common food truck application, uh, and I live, kind of in a suburban-y type area, where if you're in the downtown Denver community, which I'm outside of, or any bigger city, they will have kind of food truck festivals and those kind of things. Out here, which is suburban-y type area for me, uh, cities will sometimes do a food truck festival like once a year, but rather than having just those kind of rotating um, availability of a particular food truck, or a group of them, you'll have one, and they'll go to the any number of breweries in the area where they have an outdoor, either an indoor or an outdoor tasting room or deck. People like to enjoy those in the nice summer months, particularly. Well, the breweries, the food trucks, all have partnered with them to make that kind of their bread and butter on a Wednesday or something, when there's less likely to be a game, or a food truck carnival, or those kind of things, where or other community events where food trucks may just do their own business. They'll get on the calendar at a particular um, brewery and offer their food there, and it's a great win-win. Well, when the lockdown with the pandemic happened, that wasn't an option. All those got shut down too. So our building, the apartment manager set up to have once or twice a week, I can't even remember now, that they would make it available to people that they could get the menus in advance. So it wasn't just like, well, that day, oh, here you go. You would receive, hey, this week we're glad to have these two food trucks join us, and they'll be here on these days. And if you'd like to order something, you can call it in, and I don't remember if it was through them or through the individual food trucks, but you could order in advance, or you could do it that day if you wanted to, but the food would be available. You didn't have to stand online in a group of people to look and pay and all that kind of stuff. They would just have your food available at a set time, and you could walk over and pick it up and enjoy, not just in the midst of lockdown. And it was scary times at that early stage when it was spreading so fast, and there was not much effective treatment. Hospitals were filling up. Certainly, bigger cities than ours were struggling more, but you get a little break from just being stuck at home watching the news, and that was a really cool thing to do. So again, my compliments to the good property managers out there, wherever you may be, taking the time to look out for your residents, and even just appreciating that the sometimes the extended maintenance work that you do in one apartment may impact the residents of others, and having the courtesy to say, here's what's going on. We expect it to last this long and go from there. It is really cool when it's happened here. I've really enjoyed it. Again, this morning was just kind of the timing around the deal. It looked like, what was that, maybe an hour. They had the water down, probably to deal with something unplanned in a different unit. But yeah, those things need to happen sometimes. No big harm. But got a little bit of iced tea now, waking the brain up with some much needed caffeine, and that's going to help. As we've been talking through the intricacies of rental properties and the benefits of them, I have returned home. We've kind of exhausted out the ravine. There wasn't a whole lot more going on there. Of course, we can and we may. That's the advantage of going quick on an adventure type run. If we find ourselves back there and it's convenient, we can go tap off those lava flows and see if there's anything more down below. But yeah, we've gotten some good iron. We definitely did well in the village, and the two items that we pulled out of them that are still over here with Donkey are really, really good ones. We got this Protection 4 golden helmet, and we got this Silk Touch shovel, and we forgot to for science the beehive, but I think we'll be okay. That's not that much. So we've got some gold, some berries, and those we can kind of highlight, I guess. Let's put it this way again. The magma block, I grabbed the one just to have it. It is one half of a vertical transit system that we'll want to get going. Berries I'm not going to work with immediately. I'd like to set up an area around here where we can just have a few of them growing and where we won't inadvertently walk into them. The berry bushes, in approximation of thorns, have apparently little stickers, so you can end up taking a bit of damage as you cruise past them. So you want to just be a little bit careful about how you set them up. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't going to lose a lead. We did have so we got gold blocks, we've got gold nuggets, and we've got iron ingots. I'm going to hold on to the iron ingots as is. Yes, we can convert, or iron nuggets, not iron ingots. Ingots are the ones that we're making as we cook, but the nuggets, at some point we may want to make lanterns, which are just a different light source and a little more compelling. So I think we'll hang on to those few. You can convert all of these up and down into from nuggets into ingots into blocks without any loss. But it definitely, is just a time thing. With the gold, we want to actually do that because I don't see why. There we go. So I had to double click. This is the other means of making we got 18 out of our gold blocks. Those, one breaks out into 9, and we did that twice. And then here we're going to take 9 of the available nuggets and make one more gold bar. The extra gold bar by itself doesn't do us a whole lot, and maybe I should have saved those just so I could show you with a carrot, but I'd prefer to increase our stock of apples, and it's not gonna, be 2 more, but 2 more is 2 more than we've got right now. At this early stage, that's doubling, so we'll take it. Just a little bit of extra to feel good about. Now, this may test our supply, and these would be prime candidates of things that I'd love to throw in a chest in our upstairs bedroom once we get that work done. Oh, look, we got one more apples worth while we're doing it. Let's go ahead and make one more. There we go. Just a bit more safety. Kind of been talking around it. I think the next big push is going to be our harvesting of these trees that we planted. We talked about it before we even started that farm, but we'd eventually like to get our orchard in effect, and depending on the experimentation with our shovel, that may be our best bet of getting bees somewhat near our home. And when you're planting this many trees, we didn't really have flowers scattered around, and in order for bee hives or nests to appear when trees grow up is to have a flower. Some of these had a chance, right? If they're flowers, these have a fairly low chance individually of growing up and having a bee nest in them. When you have 64 trees all growing up and you redo those a few times in a row, that percentage overall goes up. So that's effectively what we'd like to get happening. But yeah, we've got a couple axes close to ready to go. Rather than talking about it and wondering, we've now got the day. Let's make the most of it. It's a kind of odd tree. Again, as I've talked about a couple times when taking down the bigger trees, it's cool that they've done more with the shapes that trees can take on as they, grow in their various sizes. I think that really keeps things interesting. When we get to the point where we're trying to get trees to grow, even when we say, oh yeah, it'd be cool if we could, plant and chop until we get a big tree in this area, we still don't know what that big tree will exactly look like when it grows. So definitely enjoy and props to the just what I would assume, and I'm no developer, I don't know the first thing about making games, but the coding effort to add a few more shapes to trees as they're growing would seem to be relatively light, compared to adding a whole new mob and how it interacts with the rest of the world and that kind of stuff. So I appreciate that they don't just go, oh yeah, we've got trees. Why do we need to look at trees again? We got trees. What? Well, why would we bother with that? It's off the list. But having just this little bit of variety in the mix is really pretty nice. So we went on a mini adventure, and very quickly it exceeded our expectations when it came to finding a close by village and gathering up things from the broken nether portal. The mine exploration in the mountains left a little bit to be desired, I'm not going to lie. That was not quite the bounty we'd hoped for. But we got significant iron out of it, and compared to our building projects, we definitely used a lot less. We went through a couple picks to get all that done, and we'll probably chop through both these axes just on our oak trees. I'm amazed. I was hearing that sound when we first arrived, and yeah, that's the sound of the Guardians, but it was we were ways back and up on land, and I was looking in a cave, this one that the cows have kind of fallen into a couple times, and thinking, what on earth is that sound? Why are we getting that here? And for a minute, I was wondering if it was related to the witches we'd seen. It's certainly not the underground minecart or the kind of hollow sound, the echoey cry that you hear that may indicate a ravine or some larger cavern underneath. But it's a underwater guardian temple right out there, and that's going to remain there and tease us until we get a chance to really prepare ourselves for going underground or underwater. Until you have the chance, they're pretty sticky spots. The guardians, not the elder guardians, but just the regular guardians, which are the kind of fishy things out floating around the outside and also throughout the interior of the temple. They'll get you, and they'll come in numbers. And I've never found that the actual boss elder guardians, and there are 3 per temple, are that formidable. Of the boss classed mobs in Minecraft, I kind of put them at the bottom in terms of challenge. But probably a lot of that is what you do before you fight them and how ready you are. If we just jumped in and tried to hold our breath and go down there, we'd be done before we even reached the door. And once you get inside, it's a long, twisting, winding maze of a structure that you have to get through. And it, unless you are thoroughly loaded with potions, which don't stack, you are kind of confined to what you have in your direct inventory, because while they exist, you get mining fatigue from them. And so even if you put down a chest to pull out more supplies, you won't be able to break it again. It's kind of a one-shot done until you've got them cleared out, because breaking anything in that underwater environment is such slow work that it's nearly impossible until you've dealt with the threat. So really cool fun. Just talking about it, it's not something that anybody I think does constantly. They're rare enough that when you've done one, the memory of it sticks out. And I typically will kind of work a base strategy, but I think almost all of my experiences have involved a trident, I think. Maybe not some of the earliest ones when that was less common. And even when the drowned had been introduced to the game, there was a bit of a time when just getting to the point of acquiring a trident was a challenge. So But the tridents make a huge difference underwater, and of course you're going to have a means to deal with oxygen too. And by the time you've dealt with a whole underwater temple, a lot of those things then become kind of piece of cake. And your second underwater temple, should you choose to do it, is usually a much quicker affair than the first. You can kind of just whip your way through it. But yeah, you can find yourself confined to a little pocket, just treasuring sweet air and hoping not to get completely ruined by the residents until they reach that point. So big tree there will obviously, I didn't bring ladders or anything. We'll leave it, but we're making fairly quick work. I think we had a stack and some. I think we were approaching 100 saplings that we scattered all over here the other day, and knocking down a number of them at least. And once again, now being back in the area, our otherwise untended crops get a new chance to grow up a little bit, and never hurts to go back through. Like I said, there's apples aplenty. You'll get a few random pieces of wood that just got hung up in the leaves and only drop when those break down. So just do our best impersonation of a vacuum cleaner here and suck those back up. Like any item in the game, there's eventual loss of items that are just sitting on the ground. With a few exceptions, when things like that fall from a broken tree limb, they are going to degrade and eventually disappear on you. But you get, as you see, you get plenty of time to come back and revisit. And I think we actually started out on the other end. We came around the water here. We'll need some more axes now, just getting sucked into the eggs. And since we're down here and these three have grown up, grab up those sugar. There's a little sapling. And from this point on, we are no longer going to need to worry about oak saplings. I think we've got plenty. So that's good. Yeah. 10 more apples. That's a good start. I think I got a new visitor. What have you got? Can I trade with you when you're invisible? Guess not. We'll wait till morning. Fingers crossed that I love a piece of bamboo. I'm not even gonna pretend that there are other things I would use our few emeralds on, but the one I'm really looking for is bamboo. That would be a big help. Just between now and whatever adventuring it takes. Sea pickle, kind of cool. I mean, all things being equal, if we were on our day one, this guy would have some pretty good options because the melon seeds can be a real treasure to get. One emerald to start your melons is eventually that can fund your whole trading operation. Yep. So unfortunately, we know we have plenty of tulips over there. Light blue dye is not going to be a problem. Bucket of tropical fish, we can go out in the ocean and get those ourselves. And at some point, we'll talk about the one advancement wish that I most wish for in Minecraft, and I have a feeling I would be largely on my own in it, but in the whatever the name of the sea expansion was for Minecraft, when they introduced the underwater ships and the drowned and a lot of that new content, they also added, in addition to just the clownfish, Nemo, the style of fish that you could gather, they brought in a huge variety of fish that live in the coral reefs of the warm ocean. And you can go out and grab them. As that guy said, he would only have a clownfish, I suspect. But you can go out with a bucket and catch them. And when you do, you then have... sorry, I'm looking for that iron. You then have a live fish that you can relocate if you want to, so you can build aquariums and fish ponds and things like that. And now with new varieties of tropical fish, you can have all these cool types. Well, it just begs, if there's an advancement for breeding the varieties of cats that you have, and sure, that has a little bit more challenge in that you have to tame each of them to, or I'm sorry, not breed, but you just have to tame them. But in order to get that, it's 11 varieties of cats, maybe, I think, just off the top of my head. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but you definitely have that possibility. While you're doing it, though, you have to wonder, if that's worthy of tracking. What biomes have I been into and all that? And they've got this just huge variety. I don't even know the number. It's out there, but it's a couple score maybe of different types, and that take two different colors and a size palette, and you've got a whole bunch of different fish, right? They don't all have to be completely unique, but when you start mixing and matching color, a couple different colors, you can have the blue and orange fish, and in a big version, the blue and orange fish in a little version, and then the red and green fish. And maybe that's not, maybe those aren't all accurate, but there's lots of ways to add variety, and I think it would be so cool to track those. Across some way within your own stats, kind of like the mob screen that we looked at to get the name of the silverfish. Where's something that says you've seen or you've gathered these different varieties of fish? And much like I've done in the biomes and the cats and that kind of stuff in my notepad, it would be cool if, within the game itself, even, I guess you could make a book and quill and write them down and keep constantly updating that. But it'd be cool if they incorporated that a little bit into a thing. And again, I haven't played the snapshots. I don't know, but I know in the last Minecon videos they were talking about something along the lines of archaeology, treasure hunting, or something like that, where you would go do some investigations. They're obviously thinking of some of that, and I would think, is it a naturalist or something, but just something that brought that idea of tracking the species that you either see or gather, because you can make very cool indoor fish tanks and things like that, but they're not well suited to an individual fish. You can effectively make a big, big room with a big, big lake inside it and populate it with, excuse me, I'm fighting down some yawns, I think. Not because I'm tired, just oxygen or lack of caffeine. But I do think that being able to open something up in the game and say, you've seen 10 of 30 fish, or that was a new fish that you saw, you've never seen that one before, really cool. So maybe someday that'll come. I don't think they're probably working on that as any kind of priority, but who knows? Maybe someday they will. So that's my big wish. Anyway, we were chopping trees, and I was back to get axes. We did that. We gathered up the iron and the additional steak that we'd cooked. We're fully stocked up again. And I think I'm gonna just mute the mic here for one moment. Get another drink of the tea here that you don't have to listen to, and then we'll go finish up the trees before we end up this episode. So bear with me just a moment here while we rehydrate a bit. So here we go. Maybe. All right, and we're back. So just readjust a little bit here. Now, as we said, this last little bit is just knocking down the trees and dealing with more wandering traders that have left us disappointed. I just think from where we thought we were earlier, that we could have accidentally bought unnecessary watermelon seed. Fortunately, we didn't have to. We caught our mistake in time and found the watermelon slices. Got our watermelons growing happily out in the field. And hopefully they'll be ready to spread. Maybe we'll, now that I've said, oh yeah, we're just going to finish the trees, maybe we'll go check the melons and see if we can expand the number of vines that we have growing on those again one more time. That's kind of our only current spreading need when it comes to fields. And having taken all the time to build the farms, I think it's okay to just, let them get fully right. We've got more steak than we need at the moment. We're not trading yet. And once we get to that point, between trips down to the basement to do our own mining, look for those additional diamonds we need, we'll come back up, flip the fields, and do some of that stuff so we build up a supply before we need it of trade vegetables. But yeah, we've suffered quite a bit for that. So just getting these last few trees and having enjoyed a little adventure out in that direction was nice. I'm glad we have neighbors close, and I know it wasn't impossibly far with our boat going back through the icebergs to the neighbors in that direction, but nice to have some we can reach by land. Maybe we'll, as other projects come to a close, maybe we'll look at doing some kind of a bridge. It's a little close for just doing a direct portal, although I have to say, when I first saw their unfinished and broken nether portal outside their town, I thought, maybe we do them a favor, patch that up, and connect it to our own nether connection network of various access points. We'll see. Something that could be fun to do. Pushing a little bit on the dusk, but again, I'm feeling maybe a little overconfident at this point, but we're kind of close to home. We can skirt trouble when we need it. We've already got our shield out from when we were in the caves, and I don't like playing the game where you just have to go to bed. You know, if you don't, you're going to die. That part of it seems a little wasted to me. It's good, right? You know, you got to do it at the beginning. You've got to stay safe. It's hardcore. Um, if you just ignore the reality, then you'll you'll go through a lot of worlds very quickly. But that doesn't mean it's not fun to stay out in the evening, take on a few of these zombies. We're always getting experience, and we may get drops from them. The most dangerous part of working outside in the evening like this with trees is when you chop down a trunk like that, look to the other side, and there's a creeper sizzling because he came up on the other side of the tree while you were clearing branches. But I think, you know, having spread out the torches amongst the trees up here on the heights gave ourselves a little margin. And I don't think this was our particularly tall tree. Even if it was, it's that one over in the corner. I wasn't particularly attached to that one. It's different. It is cool that it has a different shape than all the other trees, but doesn't make it particularly pretty. And even if we got a cool big one that we wanted to hang on to, it wouldn't keep us from chopping it down to make room for a building or replacing it with an attempt at an even cooler looking tree. Man, you scared me. Invisible trader guy. Llamas. Ooh, there he is. I knew it. Now, as much fun as taking on mobs is, what I don't want to do is just pockmark this whole area with creeper holes. You know, there's some possibility back that's cooler at night when you get to see it lit up under the water out in the distance. So yeah, well, hey. Everybody chill. Now is the time for everyone to just chill. Now, from here, what we don't want is these guys to go through the doors, and I don't know if by moving we can eliminate their desire to come into the house, but maybe what we can do, I'm kind of thinking a little two holes situation here where come on, because I know there's another creeper out there, and I want you. I would really like to have you do the dirty work of killing him. Whoa! Okay, that was what I was hoping for, but didn't expect you to shoot him at me. That's not cool. Okay. Well, we're making up for our lack of excitement at tree chopping. I hope there's still doors on my house. More reason for the advantages of the high ground. Coming upstairs with all those creepers around is almost untenable. It really makes it tough. But I hope that our doors are still intact. We'll just kind of wander. And we pointed this out the last time around, but again, the hope here, maybe while we're waiting, just start taking this up to 3 high. Eventually, I want most of my underground developed areas to be 4 high. We talked about the run jumping to move quickly, and that would be pretty nice. But now we got a little bit more iron at our disposal. Just having 3 high makes it feel a little less claustrophobic. It does allow for the potential of Enderman to come in, but we'll gladly trade that for feeling like we're not just hunched over, barely squeezing through. One of the other things that we have a nice potential for by making a larger underground space is the potential of stumbling upon a slime chunk. Slimes are we have seen wandering traders offer slime balls, and individually slime balls are not quite the commodity that they need to be. Folks that build a lot of automation, and to some extent I'll use sticky pistons here and there, but sticky pistons require slime chunks, and you make slime chunks out of the little slime balls. So they do have a use, and it's nice to it can be a little bit annoying actually, but it's nice to know that you've got a steady source of slimes ready to keep you supplied with those. Just, in the course of going about your daily routine, you'll just constantly be adding a slime, a few slime here and there. So, do we have doors? We do. Do we have a bed? Look at that. Now we'll empty our pockets from that combined wood and stone adventure. Egg, seeds, lots of random junk here. Not that though. Bone. Got a bow. Didn't even notice at the time, but let's. Again, we don't have enough arrows to really be effective, but until we are otherwise equipped, it's kind of fun just to go out and play. So, again, I'm distracted by that spider. We need to just empty out all this junk, get our pockets free, finish the trees, and maybe shoot somebody with an arrow. He's not coming at us. You are. Alright. There we go. An advancement. Easy one. Got some enchanted pants, maybe? Not sure if that's exactly what that... Oh, no. Did they get him? I don't think... A creeper didn't go. And again, this isn't too terribly tragic. We had already checked our wandering trader to see if he had anything that was really appealing in his supplies, and he didn't. But it's still kind of sad. That's, I guess, the cautionary tale of invisibility potion. You hear him throughout the night. He's trying to re-add it, but I don't know that I've seen where they'll take out the llamas except when a creeper goes. And the creeper didn't sizzle. Now there was we'll have to. I don't think we, obviously I wasn't aware enough to turn back around and look, but it's one of the advantages of recording. Maybe will see just enough on the clip of that video to understand what triggered whatever it was, not only to take out the trader, but the llamas too. The llamas will spit, and they may have initiated the the combat and bit off more than they could chew. But I don't know. Got a couple pieces of leather and another lead out of it. That's something. More importantly, we have finished temporary tree farm. We got a couple big trees, and I like that big tree much more than just the. That makes me think of those old matchsticks, and maybe not. It's a matchstick. They haven't completely lost their use, but the old waterproofed survival camping matches that would have an extra waxy layer over the top to keep you safe in a survival environment. It's maybe a Q-tip kind of tree too. Half of it was stuck down into the ground. But that one, man, that looks, I don't even know. Obviously, I don't think that was there when we were first planning out our fields. For the time being at least, you are a keeper tree. I'm surprised at how far that sound travels. You know, that temple is back around the corner that way. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked by noises. We don't need to. What we need is to try to make more melons. So let's combine these two. I think that axe would have had enough to deal with it, but might as well for the inventory space. So with melons, you don't get a one-to-one, so you don't know how many slices you're going to have at the end of all this, but we should have quite a few. You should get more than one per, and I think, it averages around, but it even more quickly than the pumpkin seeds. Just from doing that many, we've got enough to go. So again, we don't want our shield. We do want our melon seeds. We're going to go all the way in this direction, and then we'll see how many pieces we need to fill in that other side. We'll do this. These melons are being planted in memory of the wandering trader who tried to sell us melon seeds. It was potentially a profitable item for him to take out into the world looking for a market, but tragically, it was just more than he needed. One more. Alright, so Wandering Trader Memorial Melon Patch. Grow and be free. Our pumpkins are almost good. Potatoes could be ready. The wheat, which at the moment, as we said, is the prime interest, is getting close, and we've harvested that one once, so yeah, we're doing nicely. Next up, I am working my way over intentionally to the beef, but was just considering these caves. I think something around here, I do think that this would be a good place to also drop our berry bushes, make a little berry patch mixed in amongst the pumpkins. kind of put those two together. I'm not gonna want to. I'm not gonna want to get rid of the natural pumpkins, so adding to that area would be, I think, worthy. You gotta really try and jump. Good job. So there we go. We're relatively low on cows after our harvest, but this will give them a good chance to replenish their numbers. We'll drop our remaining wheat back in. Well, our donkey is kind of like, what happened, man? I used to have some shade. It was nice, and you just went and took it all. Yeah, we did. It's a building site, eventually. Let that tree go to. So back to where we started the other day. We've restored the nature of our plains, but we got a cool looking tree out in the distance that we've got a little bit of light on. We, as I was walking over there, I was thinking, like what are we gonna do around our bushes and that? But I was really initially thinking, we probably want to make a little path and build up some lighting because the creepers raining from this area were all spawning in the dark here, and while spreading out torches like we did over here will certainly get the job done, right? We even saw as we were waiting for that initial uh, mob spawn and clearing out the last couple of trees, these kept this area largely clear until they came up, and that's fine because we're gonna want this for our building area and kind of continue to build up outward from there. But as we go, um, having the torches, well, it just looks like a field with a bunch of torches, and we could rain those all over the place here, and we very quickly identify where the dark spots were because as you take away places for mobs to spawn, they're going to concentrate in the areas that remain for them. So I don't think, we want to light up the areas where we're going to work particularly, and we're going to, where we do some building, and I think, a nice established pathway out to our fields, cleaning this up. We want to get those chickens going. I think that's our kind of next project mission now that we have our fields going. But once again, hold on. We've stocked up. We have enough leather to make bookcases. Yeah, we gotta get more focused on working the sugarcane farms as well. Get that shaped up the way we want it to go and let it start producing because piecemealing, these dozen at a time pieces of sugar is not going to meet our eventual needs. But just from our tree plant there, remember we pulled the log. I think we had one stack left when we didn't, but we've almost got a full 9 set of logs back. So at least in oak wood terms, we're very good. And yeah, we've got these few odds and ends to set aside. I'm struggling each time I look with what I want to do. I'm gonna put the bow away. We shot the one zombie, got the advancement. We're gonna use bows quite a bit, but until I have arrow resources to really maintain them, I don't want to tote it around. I like having the free hand spot, and hey, so I'm not gonna. There you go. Haha. It is just a good chance to reset a little bit, restock our tools. I still think, even though the need for sugar cane is going to be greater, this may be a really bad idea if we attract some meanies. But yeah, I think lighting a kind of Y-shaped path of some kind down around our natural looking. So you can come up, huh? You just needed a reason. Well, welcome to my home, Spidey. So yeah, we that would help there. Um, Chicken farm, that'll help us define what's going to be our berry and pumpkin patch, the natural one, and that's where we'll kind of start our focus next, and then hop into a boat, look out around our coast, and see where we can get established for expanding greatly our sugarcane. So those are the next items on the list, and before you know it, we will owe ourselves another trip down into the mines. As we've said, I'll probably run that parallel track to the one that we already started, where we found our first diamonds, and have those two out to help us initially start clearing out rooms. But we'll just kind of run in parallel along the length, knowing now that for mining rather than excavation, the difference, we want that space where we've started our first tunnel to be cleared out for storage and hopeful slimes and all kinds of good reasons. But once all that's done and we've kind of got our underground space cleared out as much as we need, then maybe we can push out beyond the taiga that we've visited to approach the mountains around the village that we'd visited in the flower forest. It's not impossibly far, but again, that'll give us some emerald opportunities, and maybe even linking some of those things up. But all far in the future. For now, I want to thank everyone for joining once again. Really appreciate you guys watching. Hope that the content is enjoyable. Let me know if you know talking through some of the chore type work is more enjoyable, or if you'd prefer to keep the commentary more game focused. Are any of the tips and things new, or is all that pretty common knowledge for the way that you played the game? Anything that you've seen that I've either missed, like the melon slices in the chest, or things that you're learning that maybe you hadn't thought to try before. So keep up the comments. Keep sharing what you enjoy about this series, if you found it to be enjoyable. But we'll rejoin here soon, and keep plugging away, growing this from just a getting by to a vibrant new home, and hopefully the structure of our house will soon follow. But I would like to um, save that for after more exploration. Want to use the spruce wood again, and incorporate that some as we go instead of just the oak that we have. So kind of slow playing a little bit there, but it's possible now we could at least pop up and give a floor and put our bed up, open to the starry sky above. But that does make us more visible to mobs, and I don't want the doors to get all knocked down and find that we've got a problem or a creeper inadvertently blowing up and taking out half of what we've got. So we'll avoid those in the future. But for now, as I said again, thank you so much for joining us here on Habbage's Hardcore Minecraft Adventures. We'll see you next time. Thanks again.